Hi players, bonjour from Paris. My name is Asaf and welcome to my channel Easy Board Games. Today we're going to have an explanatory playthrough of Pax Renaissance, the second edition. Now don't be too intimidated, this game is easier than you might think. Maybe the rulebook is not the best, but I hope that this video is going to help you go through your first game. As always, this video is not here to give you any kind of strategical advices, just to show you as many cases as possible, and as such I'm not going to go over all the possible cases. It's just really, again, to help you with your first game, to launch it and to bring it to the table and to show you that this game is not as complicated as it might seem from the rulebook. Special thanks, first of all, to the wonderful community of Pax Renaissance, the second edition in BGG, and especially to Andrew Kindred that watched the video just to make sure to correct my mistakes over there. So Andrew, thank you so much. I appreciate it a lot. Ready to see how we play this game? Let the easy playthrough begin. Alright guys, so obviously I've skipped the setup, everything is already ready on the main board. We have all the victory conditions, we have the empire squares, the starting ruling class, the market of the west and the east. And this is going to be a two-player game. So here we have the blue player, he's going to be the first player, so he has 3 florins. And we have the yellow player who is going to be the second player and has 4 florins. So let's dive directly into this game and see what is the first action that the blue player is going to take. So we have some nice options over here, and I think that the blue player is going to start by taking this card right over here that is called Order of Santiago. So he's going to pay for it 1 florin, he's going to put it right over here, and he's going to take this card into his hand. And as the second action, he would like to already play this card. So this is a Western card, of course. It's going to go to the West tableau that we can see right over here. And we can see that he has a conspiracy one-shot. So the blue player decides that he would like to do this one-shot, and that means that the agents that are marked on the card, right over here we can see that we have 2 Catholic rooks, are going to come immediately into play. So the location of this conspiracy is obviously Portugal, right? This is what we can see over here. So let's go to the map and see what's going on. So we know that when we have a conspiracy, the attackers are going to be, first of all, the agents. So let's put the agents right over here next to Portugal, so we remember who are going to be the attackers. Also, we're going to have pirates as the attackers, but we have none bordering next to Portugal, and also repressed knights or rooks, but we have nothing right now on the kingdom card of Portugal. The defenders are going to be knights or rooks in the card's location. So the card's location, again, it's the kingdom of Portugal, and we can see that we have only 1 Catholic knight as the defender. So now we're going to have a battle, and we know that the death ratio is 1-for-1. So we're going to eliminate this Catholic knight and also this Catholic rook. So since we have at the attacker side at least 1 or more tokens that survive the battle, this is considered to be a victory. So now we're going to move on to the victor placement. So first of all, we need to put the agents. Again, we have 1 agent that survived. We're going to put it in one of the 2 locations. It's up to us to decide. And I think the blue player will put it right over here in Granada. Also, we would have had the possibility to put repressed pawns, but again, we don't have any. And as an option, we could have put repressed knights or rooks, but again, we have none. And since the attacker was victorious, this is something that is going to cause a regime change. So we're going to take this empire card right over here with the king side, and we're going to add it to the Western tableau of the blue player. And of course, as a bonus, we'll be able to put this concession at the borders of Portugal. So we're going to take one of these pawns, and we're going to put it either right over here on the trade route between Portugal and Aragon, or we're going to put it on the trade route between England and Portugal. I think that the blue player would like to put it right over here at the border between England and Portugal. Now, since the blue player has made 2 actions, we're going to finish the turn, but not before. We're going to refresh the market. So we're going to push all the cards to the left, and we're going to open a new card from the draw deck. Now it's time to move on to the yellow player. The yellow player will actually go to the Eastern market, and he's going to buy the first card in the Eastern market. So I'm not so sure how to pronounce the name of this card, but this is the card that he's bought. Now, since we don't have here a one-shot, it's up to him to decide if he would like to put the agents into play or not. So first of all, since he played this card, he's going to put it in the Eastern tableau. And of course, it's going to really help him to put these two pawns. And these pawns, when they're going to the borders between two empires, they're going to be called concessions. So again, when we want to understand what is the location, we can see over here the location of the card, and that is the Ottoman Empire. So he has a few possibilities. He can put the concessions either here, here, or even over here at the border between the Ottoman Empire and Hungary. So he would decide to put the first concession right over here on the trade route, and the second concession he would like to put over here on the trade route between the Ottoman Empire and the Papal States. Now again, we're going to refresh the market, and we're going to end the turn of the yellow player. The blue player would like to continue and try to have more of the empire squares in his possession. So he's going to go to the second card on the Western market, and he's going to buy this card right over here that is called Margaret of Anjou. I think this is again how it's pronounced. So he's going to pay 2 florins right over here, and he's going to take this card, and he's going to play it immediately. And he will decide to do the one shot that is called coronation. So on this card, we can see that we have 3 suitors, either the King of England, France, or Aragon. So first of all, let's put it right over here. That will be already his second action. And we're going to take the King of England as the suitor. So we're going to take this card right over here, and since now we have a royal couple, we're going to put this card right over here, because it doesn't really matter what is written here anymore. We only care right now about the queen's optional ops that she will be able to do a little bit later. Now again, since we acquired another kingdom card, we're going to have as a bonus a concession. So we're going to take this concession, and of course we'll be able to put it at the borders of England, right? Because this is the kingdom card that we took, right? The King of England. So we have here 2 possibilities. We can either put the concession right over here on the border between France and England, or we can actually put it right over here. And that means that we will need to repress our own concession and put it on the king's card. Now don't forget that in order to do that, we need to pay 1 florin to the bank, right, to China. And first of all, he would not like to do it, but even if he would have wanted to, he doesn't have any more florins. So he's kind of obligated to put this concession right over here, which is not bad, of course. Now we're going to refresh the Western market, and we're going to move on to the yellow player. The yellow player sees a pretty interesting opportunity that he can have right now. So he's going to actually go now to the Western market as well, and he's going to buy this card right over here. So he's going to pay 1 florin, and he's going to take this card with the 1 florin that we already have on it. So this card that is called The Hidden, you can see it right over here, has a one-shot of a peasant revolt, and also we can see that we have here already 1 agent. So he would like to take this opportunity and try to do this peasant revolt. So let's play this card right over here to the Western tableau of the yellow player, and let's go again and see who are the attackers in this case. So in a peasant revolt, we can see that the attackers are the agents. So the agent that we have right now is a yellow pawn. So let's put it right now next to the Kingdom of Aragon, right? This is the card's location. So let's put it right over here for now. And we also know that we have a pirates bordering as a part of the attackers, but we have none. Repressed pawns that we have none. And also your concessions bordering. Your concessions bordering, that means that the yellow player has 1 concession that is bordering to the Kingdom of Aragon. So we have here 2 attackers. The defenders will be knights or rooks in the card's location, and we can see that we have only 1 Catholic knight right over here. So now we're going to have a battle, and as you remember, we have this ratio of 1-1. So the yellow player will decide to take as a casualty the yellow pawn that he just put, right? That was the agent of the card that he just played. And of course, that means that the Catholic knight that we have right over here is dead as well. So this is something, of course, that has caused a regime change, right? So we're going to take this kingdom card and we're going to put it also at the western tableau of the yellow player. And as a bonus, we'll be able to put this pawn that we can see on the card. That means a concession to one of the borders. So again, we can see that we have here a few options, either to put it on the western border, right between Aragon and Portugal, or on the border between Aragon and France. Even though that it's not on a trade route, it still can give us something like we've just seen with the peasant revolt. Or he can repress his own token, but he would not like to do it, so he would put his pawn right over here on the trade route between Aragon and Portugal. And after he's done doing his two actions, we're just going to refill the market, right? We're going to refresh it. So let's take another card and move on to the blue player. Moving back to the blue player, right now he has no money, so he is thinking how he can make some money in his turn first. So the first thing that he would like to do is the tableau operations, and obviously since he doesn't have anything on the east, he's going to do it to the west. So let's start card by card and see what's going on. First of all, with the two cards that we can see over here, the kingdom cards, he would not like to do a campaign, so for now we're going to ignore it. The blue player decides that he's going to do the tax from this card, the first one right over here, and we can see that he's going to tax one of the concessions in the border of Portugal. So when we're going to the borders of Portugal, we can see that we have two concessions. Obviously, he would not like to tax himself, so he's going to tax this pawn right over here. So the yellow player now has a choice. Either he can ignore this, not pay the tax, but then his concession will be repressed, or he can pay one of his florins to China, to the bank, and then leave it at its location. So for now, the yellow player would like actually to pay this florin in order to keep his concession in place. So he's going to pay it to the bank right over here. As a result from that, he's going to put a levy in the same location, that is Portugal. So there are not many choices. He would have to put a Catholic knight right over here in Toledo. Moving on to the next card that the blue player would like to do an operation is this card right over here, the queen. And I remind you that the queen and the king are going to be two separate cards when we're talking about the tableau operations. So from the king card, we said that we don't want to do anything, but from the queen card, we would like to repress. Now pay attention that we can repress over here one rook, and the location will be England, right? That is the location of the queen, since she is married to the King of England. So we're going to look at the map right over here in England, and we see that we do have a rook over here, so he's going to be repressed. Now basically when you're repressing one of the pieces, it will have to go directly on the king's card. But in one of the videos that I've seen, I saw something that I kind of liked, and in order not to be confused maybe, or sometimes it's a little bit difficult to pay attention on other people's tableau, we're going to put it right over here, and it will be considered as repressed in England, of course, on the king's card. As a result from that, the blue player is going to receive one florin from the bank, from China, and he will be able to put it in his possession. The second action that he would like to do is to buy this card right over here in the Eastern market. So he's going to take this one florin, pay it right over here, and he would take this card into his hands. Obviously, he will not be able to play this card since he already had his two actions, so this card is going to stay in his hands. And we're going to refresh the Eastern market and move on to the yellow player. The yellow player that feels like someone stole a little bit of money from him will decide to do a trade fair as his first action. And he's going to do a Western trade fair. So when we have two players, first of all, what we're going to do is to take 1 florin from the bank and put it right over here on the trade fair card. The second thing that we need to do is to take all the florins that we can see on the trade fair card, and we're going to discard this card. Now we can see that the Western Trade Fair is going to start from Trebizond, right over here, and we're going to follow this white line until we're reaching the arrow, right? That will be our maximum, or we're going to stop before if we don't have any more florins. So when we're starting, the first thing that we will do is to put one of the florins that we had on the trade fair card and put it in the possession of the player who initiated this trade fair. Now, since we're starting right over here, we're going to put a levy, right, or a Levi, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it, right over here in Trebizond or in Kaffa. So the yellow player decides to spice things up a little bit and put a reformic rook right over here. Then we're going to continue following the white line. We're going to cross another kingdom, as we can see right over here. And that means that we're going to put another levy right over here in Varna. So we're going to take a reformic knight, right? This is what is indicated right over here. And we're going to place it in the indicated place. Now, before we're moving on to the next kingdom, we can see that on the border, on the trade route, we have a yellow concession. So this yellow concession is going to receive 1 florin from the florins that we had on the trade fair card. Now, moving on with the white line, we're passing already to the Ottoman Empire. So the yellow player would like to put right now actually a Catholic rook. And we're going to move on. Again, we have a yellow concession, so that means that we're going to have another florin to the yellow player. In the Papal States, we can see that this kingdom, this empire is already saturated, right? We can see that we don't have here free cities without any tokens. So before we're going to move on to the Empire of Aragon, we can see that we're meeting a third yellow concession, and that means that the last florin will go to the yellow player. And since this was the last florin that we had on the trade fair, we're going to stop this operation right now. We're going to stop this trade fair, and that will end this action. The yellow player feels a little bit better right now, but he would like to have a little bit more florins just to make sure that he's good to go. So he's going to activate his tableau operations on the eastern side. So from this card, we have 2 possibilities, right? We can either do commerce of the Eastern market, and that means to take 1 florin from any card that we have on the Eastern market. Right now, we can see that it's only on the trade fair card, and he would not like to do that. But instead of that, he would like to repress one of the tokens that is bordering or inside the Ottoman Empire. He can either repress one of the concessions, or he can repress a rook. So when we're going right now to the card's location, which is the Ottoman Empire, we can see that we have here a few tokens that we can repress, right? It's either going to be the Islamic rook or it's going to be a Catholic rook. So the yellow player decides that he's going to repress the Catholic rook. So he's going to put it right over here on the king's card, and it's going to gain for him 1 more florin from China. And that is it for the yellow player. We're going to refresh the market right now. So we're going to take all the cards to the left side. The card that we have right now in the trade fair, we're going to flip face down. And we're going to draw a new card from the Western draw pile. So this card is going to be discarded. We can put it right over here. And we're going to move on to the blue player. The blue player is going to use the card that he bought in the last round, that is called the Franco-Ottoman Navy, and he's going to do the one-shot. Now the one-shot over here is a trade shift, and we're going to put it in Novgorod. And also we can see that we are going to put an agent, right? Because we have decided to do the one-shot, and it's going to be a Catholic pirate in the borders of Aragon. So let's put this card right over here in the Eastern tableau. This is a black ribbon. And when we're doing a trade shift, we're basically going to open the starting point of the trade route in the specific location, that is Novgorod. So we're going to take this busted disc right over here. and we're going to put it right over here in Tena. That was the former starting location of this trade route. So since we have here a token, right, we have here an Islamic knight, he's going to be repressed. So we're going to put it on the kingdom card, and we're going to put this busted disc right over here. Now, as a second action, he would like to do an Eastern trade fair. So now we have a different location that we're going to start the trade route from, and that will be Novgorod, right? That only makes sense. So we're going to do the following steps. We're going to take 1 florin, right? This is a 2-player game, and we're going to put it on the card right over here. Then we're going to take all the florins that we have on the card, and we're going to discard it. And then we're going to give the blue player 1 florin, and we're going to start our trade. So starting from the Holy Roman Empire, we're going to have to put one of the tokens in the cities. So the blue player will decide to put a Reformic Knight in Nuremberg, right? He has the right for that. And again, I remind you that this video is not here at all to give you any kind of strategical advices, just to show you as many cases as possible. Now, following the black trade route, we're going to have here a blue concession. So we're going to give 1 florin to the blue player. Moving on to the Kingdom of France, the blue player will put a Catholic knight right over here in France. And then on the border of France and England, we have another blue concession. So the blue player will receive another florin. Now, don't forget that we still need to put the agent, right? That will be a Catholic pirate. And we can put it on the borders of Aragon. So basically, we can put it over here or over here. So the blue player will decide to put it right over here, okay? And when we're placing a pirate in a place that we had a concession, that concession is going to die. So not going to be repressed, just going to die. So those were the 2 actions of the blue player. Let's refresh the market. And we can see that we have revealed a Comet card. So it's still in the early stages of the game, but it's going to open some interesting options. The yellow player identifies here a pretty interesting opportunity. So the first thing that he would like to do is to buy a card from the Western market. He's interested in the Crusade card that we can see right over here. So he's going to pay 1 florin just like this, and he's going to take this card, and he's going to play this card immediately. Now, we can see that the location of the card is a little bit different, and we can see that we don't have here a specific location. We have here just the letter W, right, that indicates the west. So let's see where are the possible places that we can think about doing a crusade. Let's start with the places that we cannot do, okay? We cannot do it in the Papal States, Aragon, Portugal, England, and France. Why? Because in order to do a religious war, we need to have at least 1 heretic token in that specific place that we would like to do a religious war. Now, since this is a crusade, that means that we're going to have the Catholics attacking a heretic. That means either the Islam or the Reformists. So we can see that we have only this kingdom right over here, with a Reformic knight, and this empire is in the west, right? So we have all the conditions in order to do the crusade. So now what we're going to do is to see who are the attackers. The attackers in this case are agents, but pay attention that the agent that we have on this card is a bishop, a Catholic bishop, and bishops are never taking part in this kind of combat. Also, we have believer knights or rooks in target. That means, in our case, since this is a crusade, we're going to have this Catholic rook in this location. Also, believer knights adjacent. Now, adjacent here are all the empires that are bordering and also diagonally, okay, to the card's location itself, or where we decided to do the crusade. In our case, it's going to be this knight, this Catholic knight in Hungary, this knight in the Papal States, and also these 2 knights in France. We don't have, for example, in the Ottoman Empire or Aragon, some Catholic knights, so they will not take part of this combat. And also we have believer pirates bordering, but we can see that we don't have a Catholic pirates in the borders of the Holy Roman Empire. So we have here a lot of attackers and only 1 defender. So what the yellow player will decide to do is actually to take out one of the knights right over here in France, right? That was one of the attackers. And because the ratio is 1 casualty per 1 casualty, that means that this reformist knight is also going to die. Now, since obviously we have much more tokens that survive this combat in the victorious side, this is going to trigger a regime change, and we're going to take this kingdom card right over here, and we're going to put it in the western tableau of the yellow player. As a bonus, of course, we're going to receive 1 concession. So here the yellow player has a few possibilities. He can either put this concession right over here, or right over here, or actually on the trade route. So he would like to repress the blue player's concession. So let's put it right over here, and to place his concession in this place. Obviously, when you repress, like we said before, the yellow player will need to pay 1 florin from his supply to China. So let's put it right over here. And also don't forget that since we've played this one shot, we have to put the Catholic bishop on a card. So this Catholic bishop is going to go to the card's location. Now, as we remember again, the card's location is somewhere in the west. So this gives a lot of opportunities to the yellow player. He can put it basically on any card that he would like that has a white ribbon, right, in the west. So he would like to silence this card that we can see right over here of the blue player, right? This is Portugal with a white ribbon, that means a Western card. So he's going to put this Catholic bishop on this card. Now, what this means is that all the operations on this card are going to be silenced, right? The siege and the tax cannot be played anymore. Also, if we would have had abilities on this card, they would have been silenced as well. What is not silenced are 2 things. First of all, the prestige that we have on the card. And also, if we have an action that is called Inquisitor, that action would not be silenced as well. Since we don't have it on this card, right now the tax and the siege operations will be silenced. Now guys, something super important, it's a mistake that I've caught only after I finished already filming the video. So I'm going to do this shortcut. I'm not sure how it's going to affect the rest of the game, but even if it's going to affect the game, I'm not going to record everything again, but it's something that is very important. After we're having a victory in a religious war, we need to change the status of that specific empire, okay? Until now, it has been a medieval empire or a secular empire, and because we've just won here in a crusade, we're going to change the status of this empire, and it's going to be a Catholic theocracy, okay? So we're going to look in all of these cards that we have with the game. We're going to look for the same empire, okay? This is the Holy Roman Empire, and we're going to change it right over here. So that means that right now, and you can already see that we have here a few changes, okay? Instead of a reformist knight and a reformist rook, we're going to have here 2 Catholic rooks that we'll be able to put. And right now, we have here another Catholic theocracy. Now, this is super important, so let's explain also the meaning of holy victory. In order to achieve a holy victory, we need to meet a few conditions. We need to have more prestige in the supreme religion than each opponent. So how do you define the supreme religion? First of all, if we have more bishop of its color. So right now, if you remember, we have just placed a Catholic bishop, okay? That is the only bishop that we have right now in the game. Also, we need to have more tokens of its color on Theocracies than both other religions combined. So now again, we need to look how many Theocracies we have right now in the game. We're starting the game with 2 Theocracies, that is the Islamic theocracy in Mamluk and the Catholic theocracy in the Papal States. As you can see, we have 1 Islamic token in an Islamic theocracy, and we have 1 Catholic token in a Catholic theocracy. So let's say that we still didn't manage to do this crusade. We have the same amount of tokens of the same color in the different religions, right? Islamic green and Theocracies sort of golden. So since this is equal, we don't have here a supreme religion. But over here, now that we've managed to do this crusade, we have two Catholic tokens inside Catholic theocracies and only one Islamic token in an Islamic theocracy. So we already know that we have two Catholic tokens in Catholic theocracies, which is greater than one. And also we have one Catholic bishop and we don't have any other bishops of other religions. So obviously we have more bishop of its color. And that means that right now the supreme religion is the Catholicism. So in order to claim this holy victory, a player needs to have more of that specific religion prestige. As we can see right over here, we have a Catholic prestige. So we already established that right now on the board, Catholicism is the supreme religion. So the player that has the most Catholic prestige in his possession will be able to claim a holy victory. Again, I apologize for this mistake. It might affect later the game, but I don't think that I can already change it. So I apologize. And now let's go back to the actual game. So that is it for the yellow player. All is left to do is to refresh the market. The blue player is now going to buy this first card from the Western market. Okay, this card is called Tolfa Alum, and he's going to play it directly into his tableau. So obviously, again, since this is not a one-shot, okay, he has the opportunity to play these agents that we have on the card or not. He decides to play these two concessions and is going to put them on the border of the Papal States. So we're going to take these two concessions, right? And we're going to put them one over here. So he's going to repress this token, and one over here and repress this token. So we're going to put it right over here. And of course, since he repressed two tokens, he will need to pay 2 florins from his own money into the bank, into China. Let's refresh the Western market and move on to the yellow player. The yellow player would like to show you something else that we can do in this game. So he's going to buy this card that we can see right over here, a conspiracy in the Holy Roman Empire. So he's going to pay 1 florin, second one, and he's going to take this card. So here we can see that we have a conspiracy as a one-shot in the Holy Roman Empire. So he's going to play this card right into his tableau, and he's going to activate the one-shot. So again, we have here a conspiracy, and it's going to be in the Holy Roman Empire. So again, when we're looking at the attackers, when we have a conspiracy, we can see that those are going to be the agents. Let's put them right over here just for now. Also, pirates bordering, but we don't have any. And your concessions bordering. So we have here another attacker, right? This is a concession that belongs to the yellow player. And also repressed pawns. So we do have here a repressed pawn in the Holy Roman Empire, and that is actually belong to the blue player. So in this case, the defenders, of course, are going to be all the knights and rooks in the card's location. So now it's up to the yellow player to decide who from those pieces will die, right? Who he would like to sacrifice in return of the death of this Catholic rook. So he's actually going to choose this blue pawn. And when we have a pawn that is repressed on a kingdom card, that is actually called a serf. Okay, so this serf is going to die, is going to go back to the blue player. And pay attention that we have here a few things. First of all, we'll need to put these 2 tokens into the 3 cities that we have. So let's put one over here, and let's put another one right over here in Nuremberg. And here we have something interesting. Since this kingdom, the Holy Roman Empire, is already in the yellow player's tableau, this is something that is called a strawman, okay? Now, when we do an action against a kingdom that is already in our tableau, for example, like a conspiracy that we just saw, or a peasant revolt like we've seen before, if this card is already in our tableau, not in another player's tableau, and not on the map itself, we're going to flip this card to the other side, and now this is actually going to be a republic. Now, since even now we have a regime change, we're going to add 1 concession to the borders of the Holy Roman Empire that is now actually the Republic of the Holy Roman Empire. So we're going to take a yellow concession and we're going to put it on the borders of this newly formed republic. So the yellow player doesn't want to repress his own concession, so he would like to put it right over here on the border between Papal States and the Republic of the Holy Roman Empire. Those were the two actions of the yellow player. So now we're just going to refresh and open a new card from the draw pile. Now pay attention that now the yellow player is very, very close to achieving a victory. And the victory that he can achieve is actually a Renaissance victory. Why? Because when we're looking at the victory square right over here, now it's on the inactive side, right? We can see that in order to win, you need to have more republics than the other players. And we can see right now that the blue player has no republics at all, but the yellow player has one. And also we can see that we need to have 2 or more law prestige than the other player. So looking back at the yellow player, we can see that we have 1 law prestige over here, a second one, and actually a third one on the eastern tableau. The blue player has none. So this is something that the blue player should pay attention to very, very carefully. So the blue player would like to have some cash, okay, since he has none. So he will start with selling one of the cards in his tableau. He's going to sell this card right over here, the first one. And we know that when we're selling a card that has some tokens on it, we're going to discard the token that we have on it, okay? Or tokens if we have a few of them. So this Catholic bishop is going to go back to the supply. And we're going to discard this white card. We can put it right over here. In return, the blue player is going to receive 2 florins from the bank. And the second thing that he would like to do, even though he pretty much understands that maybe he lost, he would like to activate the tableau operations of the Western tableau. First of all, he's going to do from this card the commerce action, and we can see that this is going to be from the Western market. The only card that we have on the Western market is right over here, so we're going to take this 1 florin and put in his possession. The next thing that he would like to do is a campaign that we can see right over here that is going to go from Portugal, going to start right, this is the card's location. Just as a reminder, this is the King of Portugal that we have. And we're going to attack the nearest empire that we can see over here, an adjacent empire, and that is Aragon. Now, when we're doing a campaign, we need to understand who exactly is the attacker. So the attackers are going to be knights in the attacker's location, adjacent to the target empire. So again, the target is right over here, Aragon, right? And we have 1 Catholic knight in the Kingdom of Portugal. The defenders are knights or rooks in the target empire, but we can see that Aragon is completely defenseless. Now, when you're doing a campaign, you need to pay 1 florin per each knight that is attacking. And of course, when you're launching a campaign, all the knights have to take part of this campaign. So since we have only 1 knight, we're going to take this 1 florin, pay it to the bank, to China, and we basically can say automatically win since Aragon is defenseless. That means that the combat is over and the victorious side has at least 1 token that survived. So here we have a few things that we'll need to do. So first of all, we can do something that is called to emancipate, and that is pretty much to free some tokens. Which tokens can we free? Here it says all the repressed tokens. Here we can see that in Aragon we have 0 repressed tokens, so there is no one to emancipate. So since we have here a regime change, we're going to take the Kingdom of Aragon card right from our opponent, from the yellow player, and we're going to put it in the Western tableau of the blue player. And of course, what we have from this is a bonus of a concession. So we're going to take this pawn and we're going to put it on the borders of Aragon. But here we can see that we have a pirate. That means that we cannot put there a concession. We do not want to repress our own concession. So we're going to put this concession right over here on the borders between Aragon and France. Now we have here a few interesting things. This move has opened for the blue player 2 of the possible winning conditions. The first winning condition that it's open for him is actually the globalization victory. So when we're looking right over here, we can see that in order to achieve this victory, you need to have 2 or more concessions than the opponent. We can see that right now on the board, we have 3 yellow concessions, but we have 5 blue concessions. And of course, we remember that repressed concessions are called serfs, so they're not going to come to the count of the yellow player. So we do have 2 and more. And also we need to have more of this discovery prestige, okay, than the opponent. Here in our tableau, we can see that we have 1 discovery prestige with the King of Portugal. And also with this card over here, we can see that we have another one. The yellow player on the other side has 0 discovery prestige, so we do have all the conditions. The second victory option that was open for the blue player is actually the Imperial victory. Now here we can see that we need to have 2 or more king cards, right? Not republics, than each opponent. But with a 2-player game, we have a slight different thing, and we need to have 3 or more king cards than the opponent. So we can see that right now the blue player has Aragon and also England and also Portugal, right? That is 3. And the yellow player has none of those, right? He does have an empire square, but this is a republic. So the blue player has 2 possible winning conditions. Going to the yellow player, he wants to buy this comet card because he would like to open the victory condition that applies to him, but he doesn't have enough cash. He has 3 florins, but in order to buy this comet card, he will need to pay 1, 2, 3, and 4. So what he will decide to do is to sell one of his cards. And I think that what he will decide to sell is the card that we can see right over here. So he's going to discard it, and he's going to receive from China 2 florins for this sale. Now that he has 5 florins, he would like to purchase this comet card. So he's going to take 4 florins, and he's going to put 1, 2, 3, and 4. And when you purchase a comet card, it's not going to come to your hands. You're going to immediately discard it from the game. And the player who purchased this comet card will be able to open one of the victory conditions. That means to flip this victory square from the non-active side to the active side. So obviously he's going to take what is best for him, and that will be actually the Renaissance victory. So he's going to flip it to the other side, and maybe in the next turn, he will be able to claim this victory. So he did his 2 actions. We're just going to refresh the market, and we're going to see what the blue player will do in order to save his game. So basically, the blue player is going to lose this game, but let's just do our best, let's call it that way. So we're going to sell this card right over here. We're going to discard it. We're going to take 2 florins for it. And the blue player is going to do something right now. He's going to buy this card right over here. So he's going to pay 1, 2, and 3. He's going to take this card into his hands. And that is actually concludes the blue player's turn. So now the yellow player, with his turn, he will be able to do as an action victory, right? To claim a victory. So he's going to claim a Renaissance victory, because he has more republics than the opponents, again, 1 versus 0. And also he has 2 or more of this law prestige, right? Again, he has 1, 2, and 3, and the blue player has none at all. So that means that the yellow player has won this game.